The rain was relentless, hammering down like a punishment, turning the streets of Crestview into shallow rivers. I just dragged myself through a grueling 14-hour shift at the hospital, my scrubs clinging to my skin. My only thought to park in my usual spot, stumble the 20 steps to my front door, and collapse. But as I pulled into the lot, my heart sank. A sleek black BMW sat smugly in spot 42, my spot. The vanity plate gleamed under the streetlight. HOA Queen. I knew that car. It belonged to Vanessa Caldwell, the iron-fisted HOA president who ruled Crestview like her personal fiefdom. Standing there, soaked and furious, I felt a surge of rage. This wasn't just a parking spot. This was Vanessa's latest power play, the culmination of months of her petty tyranny. As the rain plastered my hair to my face, I swore to myself, this would be the last time she walked over me. I had no idea that this moment would ignite a neighborhood war, cost me my entire emergency fund, and shift the power in Crestview forever. I'd lived in Crestview for 3 years, a postcard-perfect suburb with pristine lawns and a community pool nobody dared dip into. The brochures didn't mention the HOA, led by Vanessa, a 50-something with flawless auburn hair, designer tracksuits, and a voice that could slice through concrete. She'd been president for a decade, unchallenged. Her husband, Tim, a quiet man who seemed to exist only to apologize for her. Crestview's flaw was its parking. Built in the early 2000s, each townhouse had a one-car garage and one assigned spot in a communal lot. Visitors parked a quarter-mile away, making hosting a logistical nightmare. My spot, 42, was a lifeline, perfectly positioned for a quick dash home after erratic hospital shifts in our rainy climate. That night, I parked in a visitor SPOTA violation sure to earn a fine and trudged home, fuming. The next morning, I knocked on Vanessa's door. She answered in yoga gear, though I'd never seen her near the gym, her lips pursed like she'd bitten a lemon. "You parked in my spot last night," I said, struggling to stay calm. "Spot 42. It's assigned to me." Vanessa sipped from a tumbler, definitely not a smoothie, despite her pretense. "Oh, was that yours?" she said, her tone dripping with fake surprise. I had board members over. No visitor spots were open. I knew she was lying. I'd parked in one of 5 empty visitor spots. "I had to park there because you took my spot," I countered. Her eyes narrowed. "Well, I noticed you used a visitor spot overnight. That's a violation, Section 8, Paragraph 4. Expect a notice." I felt my face heat up. "You caused this." She waved me off. "First come, first served. Maybe leave work earlier. We all sacrifice for the community." Her smirk said she'd never sacrifice a thing. Sure enough, a $75 fine arrived the next day for unauthorized visitor parking. The day after, Vanessa's BMW was back in 42. This became our routine. 3 nights a week, I'd find her car in my spot, forcing me into a visitor spot and another fine. 2 weeks later, I'd racked up $525 in penalties, my blood pressure spiking. I tried the HOA board, presenting my work schedule and begging for relief. The 5 members, Vanessa's puppets, stared blankly before upholding the fines. Vanessa didn't even recuse herself, smirking as she voted. "Rules are rules," said Harold, a retired banker terrified of her. I left defeated, knowing I was alone. Then the fines escalated. $50 for a garbage bin left out 30 minutes late, $100 for incorrect house numbers, $75 for hedges 2 inches too tall. My welcome mat was unapproved. My single Christmas wreath was hung 3 days early. Vanessa was punishing me for daring to challenge her. The breaking point came on a sunny Saturday while I weeded my tiny garden. My neighbor, Carl, a retired professor who lived in Crestview since its founding, leaned over the fence. "She's got it out for you," he said, eyeing the latest violation notice. "I just asked her to stop parking in my spot." I sighed, yanking a dandelion with venom. Carl chuckled. "Vanessa hates anyone who doesn't kneel. She drove out the Garcias lovely family by burying them in fines." I froze. "That's awful." Carl lowered his voice. "Here's something most don't know. That parking lot? It's not HOA property. A private company, Pinnacle Parking, owns it. The HOA has a deal, but Pinnacle controls the spots." My pulse quickened. "But we have assigned spaces." Carl nodded. "Pinnacle honors them as a courtesy, but they can sell exclusive permits. Pricey, but the holder gets sole legal rights, enforceable by Pinnacle, not Vanessa." My mind raced. If I bought a permit for 42, I could lock Vanessa out legally. That night, I couldn't sleep, Carl's words looping in my head. By morning, I called Pinnacle Parking. After 3 transfers, I reached Sarah, the accounts manager. Exclusive permits for Crestview, she said. They're $3,500 for a year. I nearly choked. That was my entire emergency fund. But picturing Vanessa's smug face, I knew it was worth it. It gives you sole rights, Sarah confirmed. We install a sign, and violators get towed at their expense. It overrides any HOA rules. I didn't hesitate. I'll take spot 42. Sarah checked. It was available. We'll notify the HOA, she added. Perfect. I wanted Vanessa to know. By lunch, I'd sign the papers and drain my savings. The sign would be up in 48 hours. I parked in a visitor spot that night, paying the app fee, letting Vanessa think she'd won one last time. The next morning, I watched from my window as Pinnacle's technician installed a sign at 42, exclusive permit only. Violators towed. My shift ended at 10 p.m., and as I turned into Crestview, my heart pounded. There it was, Vanessa's BMW, parked defiantly in 42, ignoring the sign. Hands shaking, I called Pinnacle's enforcement line. Unauthorized vehicle in spot 42, I said, grinning. Plate, HOA Queen. The dispatcher promised a tow truck in 20 minutes. I paid the visitor fee and waited, adrenaline surging. Right on time, a tow truck rolled in. The driver, Joe, checked my ID against the permit and hooked up Vanessa's car. As he secured it, a shriek pierced the night. What are you doing to my car? Vanessa stormed toward us in silk pajamas, her hair a mess, Tim trailing nervously. This vehicle's in an exclusive permit spot, Joe said calmly. It's being towed per regulations. Vanessa's face twisted. I'm the HOA president. This is my spot. Joe shrugged. Take it up with the permit holder. Vanessa spun, spotting me. You did this, she spat, her face crimson. I smiled. I bought the permit. Spot 42's mine. She jabbed a finger. The HOA controls these spots. Tim, reading the sign, muttered, Vanessa, it's legal. She silenced him. This is a mistakey, a vindictive stunt. You'll drown in fines. Joe handed her the impound address and drove off. Vanessa hissed, this isn't over, before storming away. I slept like a baby. The next morning, a letter announced an emergency HOA meeting to address parking irregularities. I arrived early, finding the community center packed. Word of the tow had spread, and I wasn't the only one savoring Vanessa's humiliation. She sat at the board table, composed but seething, avoiding my gaze. Harold opened nervously, but Vanessa took over. A resident has undermined the HOA by purchasing a so-called exclusive permit, she said, glaring at me. This violates our authority. I raised my hand. The bylaws don't prohibit buying permits from Pinnacle, the lot's legal owner. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Vanessa snapped. The HOA has an agreement. I cut in, not ownership. Pinnacle confirmed they can sell permits, and I bought one legally. Carl stood, waving old minutes. May 2019, the board, under Vanessa, sold the lot to Pinnacle, who retained permit rights. Vanessa paled. Residents piled on, airing years of grievances, petty fines, bullying. The meeting spiraled. Harold, shockingly, moved to cap fines and add an appeals process. Another board member seconded. Vanessa was outvoted 4-1, her control crumbling. Over weeks, Crestview transformed. Gardens bloomed with unapproved plants. Doors sported bright colors. Vanessa grew quiet, rumors swirling she'd sell. One evening, Tim appeared at my door with a $725 check me fines refunded. Vanessa went too far, he said. She's learning. Months later, their beige house wouldn't sell, lacking the character of Crestview's now vibrant homes. I smiled, seeing Tim paint their door a bold red, a color Vanessa once fined others for. My $3,500 permit wasn't just a parking spot. It was justice, sparking a rebellion that made Crestview a home, not a rulebook.